Welcome to the Conscious Radio Network's YouTube channel. Become enlightened, have fun, and tell all your friends and family to share with everyone they know. You can find us on Facebook and stay up to date on our Facebook group, or find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Our podcasts can be found on Libsyn, iHeart, Spotify, Google Podcast, and more. Most of all, remember to go to our official website at consciousradionetwork.com for podcasts, hosts, future shows, and scheduling. We also want to welcome our international audience. Don't stop now. Enjoy the community. Subscribe today.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you might be on the spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's weekly podcast series, The Seance. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Meckes. If this is your first time tuning in, please click subscribe, like, share, comment, and also don't forget to follow wherever you listen to your podcasts. America in Therapy, New Paradigms, RE-Interdependence, returning to be with us again with a master's in psychology and counseling from Antioch University. She co-directed the Parents United Sexual Abuse Treatment Program in Santa Fe, New Mexico for 2 years, then went into private practice full-time. She has treated children, families, couples, and individual adults for 34 years. She has worked extensively with abuse and dysfunctional family dynamics, their aftermath, and some of the most important elements for healing. She has published 2 books, A Light in Darkness and Into the Fire, and her latest book, will we get more in detail today, America in Therapy, A New Approach to Hope and Healing for a Nation in Crisis. Let's welcome back Phyllis Levitt. Welcome back, Phyllis.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me back.
You are very, very welcome. And we wanted to get you back because we had some details in the book that we didn't have time for, and we wanted to take a little bit into that today, which are these new paradigms.
Mm-hmm.
So
and they're actually really not new.
Mm-hmm.
I probably don't have anything to say that you haven't heard in some way before, but I think they're things that we haven't taken seriously as profound issues that we really need to contemplate and integrate into our lives in a new way and in a powerful way for the sake of I really say it for the sake of our viability, not just as a country or individuals, but really as a species, because I think we're really at a turning point in human development where we have to think about what we're doing from the point of view of not just how does it serve me or serve my group, but is it actually sustainable for life on Earth? And so my contention has been, and it's really the underlying theme of my book, America in Therapy, that psychology, our understanding of our psychology, is a big missing piece in national conversation. And so I've gone into it in detail in terms of, I call it new paradigms, but because we're not embodying them in terms of policy and practice on the largest levels. Yeah.
Let me bring up a picture of your book for those who want to know what it looks like, and for those who are listening, definitely watch the show. It's called America in Therapy: A New Approach to Hope and Healing in a Nation in Crisis. Now, let's get into let's see, like the dependency, interdependency, and the hostile dependency.
There are so many. It's so interesting because one of the things that we're born dependent as human beings. We're born totally dependent, and part of becoming an adult is becoming independent in certain ways. Not having to rely for our, to feed ourselves or walk or get our needs met totally on other people the way we are when we're an infant. But I think in America today, and this is probably true in many countries, we have this very incredible value that we've put on our independence that in some ways is an illusion. You know, like, of course, it's good to be sturdy and to be able to take care of yourself and bounce back if you have, you know, some challenge in your life. Of course, we want to have those things. They're part of being an adult. But we're actually really reliant on each other still as adults for our intimate needs. We need each other. And, you know, one of the things that science even says today is that we're wired for love and connection.
Yeah.
And no matter how able we are to take care of some of our needs ourselves, earn an income, drive a car, whatever it is we do, we still actually are wired for love and connection, no matter what age we are. And when we don't get the need for love and connection met, we suffer. And so we depend in our lives, no matter how old we are or what we're doing, for having that need met by other safe human beings, other people who can actually be there for us, or that depend on us to be there for them. This is part of maintaining our health and well-being as human beings. And one of the things that I've experienced as a therapist is that we don't have a good, and I'll use the word paradigm, but we don't have a good paradigm to actually understand the place for dependence, the place for independence, and the place for independence. Because our lives are really a balance of all those three. Do you wanna jump in there at all, or let me know?
I've heard people say, I've been guilty of this myself, and I hear people comment, you know, hey, how's the love life doing, or how's your life doing, and, you know, is there anybody new, blah blah, or, you know, someone, and I've heard this quite a bit, is, oh, I don't need anybody.
Right.
You know, I don't need that, I don't need this, I don't need that, stuff like that. Now, for those individuals who think or feel that they're in that, I'm not sure if you'd call it a crisis. Maybe they're just saying that to, you know, make people feel bad about themselves, you know, about them or something. But when people make those comments, do you think that's truly how they feel, or are they reaching for help?
Well, they may be believing that they feel that way, for sure. And of course, I can't speak for every human being. But in general, I would call that a defense against not having our real needs for dependence or interconnection or relationship met. So it can be a defense to say, I don't need that. And it's a defense that's actually applauded to a great degree in our society. So, you know, it's a funny thing. It's almost like it's sexy to say, I don't need anybody. I can take care of myself. I love myself. You know, I'm good. As if that's sort of a badge of having arrived. And to the extent that we think that that's really like something to applaud, we're in trouble, because we really do need each other. And so one of the things that I talk about in my book, and there's many things, but one of the things I talk about is a lot of times people end up feeling that way because they've actually been hurt. Because their need to depend and rely on and interact and connect safely and in a way that's fulfilling and rewarding with other people has been abused or neglected or hurt or betrayed in some way, that it's no longer safe to actually even know that I want that. It feels safer to say, I don't need that. And it may be a survival mechanism that is the best a person can come up with. But it's sort of an overlay, I think, for many people, against great pain. You know, that covers up great pain.
Yeah, it's like putting that wall up, a verbal way of putting that wall up. Like, you know, especially if you were in a relationship and you trusted that person and you let your emotions get too involved, and then suddenly you got betrayed.
Right.
And if it happens over and over again, you know, people just get to that point. It's like, I don't need to do this again.
Right. And especially if you've had that experience as a child where love was withheld, or love just wasn't there, or love was betrayed, or love was, your loving feelings as a child were abused and mistreated, then the pattern of attracting yourself to people who are going to very likely be the same way with you is part of our repetition compulsion on a psychological level. And so it can really lead to feeling like I don't need anybody, I don't want anybody. And it's a strength that I have. And it may be your best survival mechanism. There's no criticism in what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But the reason why I talk about it partly is because we really do suffer when our need to actually rely on one another, to be that safe haven for somebody else and to have a safe haven in other people is not met. It causes most of us to have some kind of symptomology.
Yeah.
And to the extent that it's really missing, our symptomology can be really great. So for people who become perhaps mass murderers or something really detrimental to themselves and others, their ability to even feel that they need or want to rely on other people has been so damaged that they can't feel a human connection to other people. And it allows them to act out their rage or their pain in ways that we consider horrific. But we need to understand that it comes from somewhere. They weren't born that way.
Yeah.
So part of, zooming out to the big picture, which is kind of what I do in my book, I go from the individual and the individual family to the national scene or the international scene or your state or your community, whatever larger groupings of people we all function within. It's actually an illusion that we can be independent. So as much as we might like to feel that, I won't have a car, I don't have a computer, I won't have internet, I won't have power sources, I won't have food without all the people all over the world that I depend on.
Yeah.
And if those people, stop wanting to provide the services that my life as it is now depends on, I'm in big trouble. We're in big trouble. Or if they're really not safe and they haven't been well provided for and they're acting out their rage and they become terrorists or murderers or exploiters or rapists or whatever people do when they're in that level of pain from not having their legitimate dependency needs met, then we're all in trouble. And so for me, on the biggest levels, we actually depend on everybody in the entire world to be safe, to keep our water clean, to keep the air clean, to keep the soil, not polluted or full of poison so that our food is toxic for us. We actually depend on everyone.
Oh, yeah.
And what would it be if we actually could just embrace that, not fight it, not condemn it, but actually, yeah, we really do. Just like in our own families, we really depend on everybody to be loving and safe and kind, or at least willing to return to that place when we all lose it, which we all do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of when the History Channel had that program out years ago called, what was it, Life Without People?
Oh,
That was
I
a
don't know if
I think there was
saw it.
only like 1 or 2 seasons of it, very brief, but it showed you the systemic breakdown of society.
Oh, interesting.
And, it kind of gives you that idea. I was like, how dependent we are
100%.
with
We really are.
everything. It's, you can't
With
ignore
everything.
it. Yeah.
Everything. I mean, the bottom line is the planet itself. We are dependent on the planet to be habitable. Otherwise, life cannot exist here, and we're part of that life, right? So if we're systematically destroying parts of the planet that we depend on, the rainforest for oxygen, clean water, clean air, everything that contributes to climate change, the list is endless. What are we doing? We're actually fighting our food supply, our lifeline.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it comes out of sort of a myopic or a narrow-sighted point of view that that the supply is endless, which maybe it felt like to past generations, but we actually know better now. We know that the supply of oxygen isn't endless, clean air isn't endless. That we can actually destroy this. So one of the things, and you mentioned it in the beginning, that I think is really important is that to the extent that we don't acknowledge our deep dependence on each other, on our communities, on our businesses, on our larger institutions, on our government, and really on the entire globe full of people, to the extent that we don't acknowledge that we need them and we need them to be safe for us. We need them to consider us the way we want to be considered. To that extent, we are prime targets for being in what I call a hostile dependent relationship. And if you've ever had this in your life, which I have, and I know it very well on the personal level, you depend on someone, but you don't like them. You don't want to need them, but you need them. And so you stay in a relationship with them. And this is very common in relationship, where someone is married to someone and the relationship has really fallen apart, but they're afraid to be alone, or they don't think they can make it financially on their own. So they stay in a relationship with someone that they have a lot of negative feelings toward. And so they're dependent on them, but they're hostile to them.
Yeah.
And it's a very sad way to live in relationship, because it's not safe emotionally, it's not fulfilling, and it feels like a trap. And to some extent, I believe that we're in that hostile relationship with people all over the globe. If we don't acknowledge that we need people on the other side of the world not to proliferate nuclear weapons and blow us up if they're really angry or in, some kind of addiction to their own power or whatever they're doing, if we don't acknowledge that we actually depend on them to be safe, we stay in a hostile relationship with them, which we are.
Yeah.
We actually are, with countries and people and segments of the population all over the world. And it's a recipe for war. And that's what we're facing here.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Absolutely. Well put. It helps us open up our eyes and look at things, objectively and see things in another perspective.
Yeah, I think it really does. And psychology, the world of psychology, has given all of this understanding to me, because it's that up close and personal looking at the dynamics and how we play out our wounds with each other that set us up. No one's hostile dependent when they're born. I don't think any of us really actually want to be that.
Yeah.
But we fall into it unconsciously because we don't know how to get out of it. And we don't even know what we're suffering from.
Yeah. And that segues into the next question between healthy ways to look at pain, which is nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
What's your view on that?
It's a really big topic, and I love the topic because I think it's another one that just to talk about it helps explain things to me. So I believe that there's nature and nurture. I don't think we're a total blank slate when we're born. I don't. I think that some people are naturally more introverted or more extroverted or more naturally artistic or more naturally mathematical, or more naturally on an emotional scale, and others are on a more rational, a line of thinking. So I think that we do have that. I don't know that we can actually analyze exactly how much is nature and how much is nurture, but just having had 3 children myself, given that probably I had projections onto my kids if they were girls or boys or whatever I did, given that we do project right away onto our little children when they're born, but even so, it was pretty clear to me that they had their own nature when they were born.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. And they're very different people now in the world, very different. Nurture is how we treat each other. Nurture is what we teach people about relationship, about what's acceptable, about what's not acceptable, about what expectations are for success, about how we're going to handle conflict, about what the rewards and punishments are for different behaviors. All of that is nurture. How we love each other or withhold love, who we hate, who we put down. All of these things are what we teach each other in our families of origin and in our communities. And sometimes what we teach each other, which I'm calling nurture, which basically what we teach each other about human relationships and how we get accepted or not, or approved of or not, or included or not, all of those things. That's nurture. It's what we teach each other from the very beginning. Don't cry or I'll hit you. It's not nurturing, but it's part of nurture. Yeah. Or, when a child cries because they're upset with their brother and a parent comes in and comforts them and, talks to them and talks them through it and problem solves with them, that's another kind of nurture. So what I'm basically saying, it's pretty simple, is that yes, we can be born with different nature. And let's just say some people are born slightly more aggressive than others. We all know kids that just seem to be rough and tumble and they want what they want. And maybe some of that's from their nurture. But let's just say, and I think it's true, some people are just born more, willful and aggressive. And some people are born more shy and retiring.
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't have any choice in the way we're born. I did not get born with higher math genes. I didn't. I'll never understand higher math. And so you can't nurture me into calculus, okay? But if someone is born more shy and retiring, and it's hard for them to speak up or exert their presence in a given situation or ask for what they want, they can be taught to do that. They can be encouraged to do that. They can have role models for people who ask for what they need or speak their mind or include themselves in some way, make their presence known in some way that is acceptable, that is not harmful to other people. They can be taught that. And we know that from working with children who are very, very shy or frightened or whatever. And people who are very aggressive can be taught. They can learn to control themselves, to restrain their their impulses to lash out or hurt other people. They can be taught that. And even people who by nurture have been shut down and silenced, or who have been have had role models to be aggressive and have identified with the aggressor and adopted those behaviors, they can also be nurtured back into safety. Many of us can. Nurtured, and I don't mean that by mushy love. I mean that by having role models and expectations and a safe container in which to heal the wounds that have produced the effects that they have, so that they can become people who are able to both advocate for themselves in ways that don't hurt other people, and also, again, the importance of the presence and the needs of others. And we can help each other do that. Can we help everybody do that? Probably not. I do think in a world today, there are people who are so damaged by other people, who have been so hurt, who have been so abused, who have been so neglected, who have been so maligned, that we don't know how to help them. But I think there's many more people that we do know how to nurture back into some kind of safe relationship with themselves and others. And so that's really my spin on nature and nurture. What are your thoughts?
A word or a phrase or a cliche came to mind is teaching an old dog new tricks.
Yeah.
Which is and that came to me like boom when you mentioned, trying to reintroduce the, nurturing somebody, building their confidence and building their self-esteem, especially someone who is very introverted. I'm an introvert, which is weird. I'm an introvert, but I'm a podcaster.
Right.
People are like, well, what do you really? So
yeah.
for those people out there that might be feel or are damaged, and they're like, dude, they give up. They're like, is there hope for them? Is there, and the book is something that they can dig into and go, this might
Yeah.
help me bring me back up and get back into society.
Yeah, because I think there's hope for most people. Honestly, I think there's hope for most people. And like I say, the people that we have damaged, that other people have damaged beyond our ability to heal, that's on us as a society.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't born bad people.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the view that I take, is it's on us as a society to create an environment where these horrific things are not happening to people. So we don't have to try to heal them. I mean, that's the whole goal, right? That's the whole goal, is that we actually heal enough of ourselves that we're no longer perpetrating these horrible ills on other people from which they will or will not recover, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Now, equality, the equality in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
On that.
Yeah. And let me just say a little bit more about the hope before we go on to that. Because the hope is that we understand that our worst behaviors come from our wounds. The hope is that we really understand that people are not born evil. There may be some people out there who are born with some kind of genetic or biochemical abnormality that sets them up to be out of control, but that's not the vast majority of people.
Yeah.
People are not born murderers and rapists. And so we have to understand that there is an essential person underneath the layers of what's happened to us. And if we really want to heal as a society, the hope is that we get that and we see the victim inside the perpetrator, and we do everything possible to stop victimization and heal it when it's happened. And I think I might have mentioned this before with you. I never know what I've said one time or another, but there's a very well-known man named Father Boyle who works with people who have been in gangs in LA, and he has done remarkable things in helping restore some of these people who've been in prison for violent crimes, who have had terrible mistreatment in their childhood. And alienation and ostracism and abuse and violence and neglect and all the rest. And he, through his love and through providing a loving, supportive, healing environment, has brought so many people back to their essential self and their goodness and their love and their ability to be cooperative, loving members of society. So it can be done. There is hope. We just have to really know what we're looking at and what we need to reverse courses here. And my belief is that psychology holds some of these big missing answers. And that's why I wrote the book.
Yeah. Oof. And you said Father Boyle?
Yes, his name is Greg Boyle. And he wrote several books that I've read. The first one, I believe, was called Tattoos on the Heart. Excellent books, really readable, great stories that will make you laugh and cry. Just so heartwarming and touching and inspiring and hopeful. And one of the things that I believe he's the person who said this, and if I'm attributing this quote to him incorrectly, I'm still going to say it. I believe he said, we imagine a world without prisons, and then we create that world. Wow. And I love that.
That is odd. Yeah. Man, and that makes so much sense.
So much sense, right?
Yeah. And I heard something today, and I heard it before, but then I was like, when it hit me today, I was like driving, and it was like, whoa. And it goes right with this topic, is if you're going to be out for revenge, make sure to make 2 graves. Dig 2 graves if you're out for revenge with somebody, because you're only putting yourself in the ground with them, so to speak.
Yes. And another way of saying that is, in this world that we live in today, what we do to other people, we're actually doing to ourselves.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. What is your? I've been looking at this. What we just now touched on is I've been looking at things like that at a very at a metaphysical aspect or at the quantum level when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to somebody that you cross paths with somebody and you either you befriend them or they're an associate or anything, but the person doesn't. There's something about the person that just sets you off. It bothers you, and then you just
Mm-hmm.
treat them like crap, so to speak, and you just don't get along with them. Um, what do you think that is? Is that something that's within us that we are fighting? Even because when you think about it, I mean, it's happened to me, and when I do get into that situation, I step away from myself and go, why do I not like this person? What,
Mm-hmm.
what what is it?
Mm-hmm.
What is it that I don't like about it or the situation? Is it something within myself that
Well,
I'm
go ahead.
conflicting with?
Mm-hmm. Well, do you want to give a good example of something, that occurs for you? Because there's so many things that we can react to in other people,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Just probably like well, it could be the mannerisms and stuff like that, or character or something. And it's not like a conflict of ethics and stuff, but it's just maybe a way a person handles themselves.
Right.
And they're always maybe just a little too outgoing, facetious, and it's just like, but then at the same time, I'm the same way. I mean, I can, if
Mm-hmm.
it's something I'm interested in, I'll just go right at it and stuff. But sometimes it just, when you cross paths with that person, and it's like, whoa, and it's like you don't want to work with the person. You kind of
Right.
conflict, but you're not really. You're conflicting. It feels like I'm conflicting with myself,
Mm-hmm.
'cause- and that's why I step away. I'm going,
Mm-hmm.
there's really nothing wrong with the situation. It's me.
Well, that's already, I think, part of your growth and development that you can even do that. Because I
Mm,
think for a lot of people in the world, we're just bouncing off of each other automatically, unconsciously, without considering that I might have something to do with the reaction that I'm having to
mm,
you. I'm
yeah.
just thinking you're a jerk, or I don't like you, or blah, blah, whatever I think about you. And then I feel entitled to have the
Mm,
reaction that I do. And that's part of what I think we have to mend,
yeah.
because to the extent that we do that, and to the extent that we take up arms to do that, whatever they are, psychological weapons, emotional weapons, weapons of deprivation of other people, or discrimination, or actual guns and bombs,
Mm,
we're in danger if we just stay unconscious of those reaction patterns. And we always have been as human beings. But the stakes get higher and higher, because
yeah.
we're really actually now a global community. And there's nowhere to go if we don't work it out here. There really is nowhere to go.
Yeah, for years
So,
they've been saying one world, and it
yep,
is it is
it
now.
is absolutely 100%, 150% for sure. So, but to go back to what you're saying, one of my experience is that yes, a lot of times what we're reacting to in other people are things that we haven't owned in ourselves, or that we don't like about ourselves, or that are challenging. So someone who feels really insecure might be turned off by somebody else who appears really insecure, because they can't deal with that feeling in themselves. And
Mm,
we've probably all had that kind of reaction. Or somebody who's really aggressive, doesn't like another person who's aggressive because it feels like a challenge. Or sometimes we react to other people because they actually embody gifts and strengths that we wish we had ourselves, but we don't.
mm,
We're not feeling our own strength and gift. And so when somebody comes along and they're just so kind, or they're just such a good listener, or they're just so generous, and we don't feel like we are those things ourselves, it can be confronting in a way that we react to them and
yeah.
push them away, rather than.
Yeah.
Does that make
Jealousy and
sense?
envy.
Sure. So there's lots of reasons why we have those reactions. But one of the many things that I really try to stress in what I taught in my book is, the bottom line is, It's not up to them to change. It's up to me to be responsible for my reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And that I really believe is part of my growth and development, our growth and development, and really our growth and development as a country. We are responsible for how we react to the behavior of other people. And, coming back to the personal, I really like to say it this way, because we don't know what another person has been through.
Mm-hmm.
The person who's grumpy at you in the grocery store or on the other end of the phone, or who won't give you what you need or whatever, we just don't know where they're coming from. Yeah, would it be nice if they were kinder, or they had better people skills, or they took their service industry more seriously, and they were, they knew they were there to serve you, and they put on a smile even if they didn't feel like it. Yeah, it'd be great. But we can be the ones to do that. And one of the ways I really like to bring that home is I have worked with so many people who have been so seriously abused in their childhood, sexually abused, physically beaten, kicked out of their families, you name it. I mean, horrific things that I won't even say. And they're holding on by a thread. They're literally holding on by a thread. It's to their credit that they show up to work at all or get their kids to school. It really is, because the level of pain and anger and fear that they're trying to manage inside and trying not to let it show, because we all don't want to let our pain show, is enormous. And who knows if that's the person who's waiting on you and has a grumpy attitude. And who knows if your kind words, your patience, your being, respectful and whatever, to them could make or break their day.
Mm-hmm.
Could mean the difference between them going home and beating their own kids or taking their own life. We just don't know what's inside other people.
Yeah.
And so the bottom line is, who do I want to be in this world? And I'm not saying I'm perfect. And I don't know anybody who's perfect and never reacts. I don't think that's the condition that we're in right now. But we can catch ourselves. We can do it better in the next moment. We can say, I'm sorry, that tone of voice I used with you, that was really uncalled for. I apologize. We can all do that.
Yeah. And admitting to being open and admitting, to everybody how, I would say, don't tell everybody how you feel, but I use it in conversation all the time. Every now and then, I'll make the comment quickly, like, oh man, I'm envious, or man, I'm jealous. I'll say that.
Yeah.
By saying that you're envious or jealous about a particular thing with somebody, kind of opens up that door and kind of relieves that frustration.
That's right. And then that unconscious thing that you've been projecting is no longer like sullying the space between you.
Yeah.
Or creating some kind of weird vibe that they're picking up, but they don't know what it is. Right? Right?
Yep. So before we wrap up the show, where can they go find the book? Even though for those who are watching, the website is scrolling down on the bottom of the screen, but give everybody your information and where they can find you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, for sure. On my website, www.phyllislevitt.com, you can order the book through my website, but it's available through all the major booksellers, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and any of the other major booksellers that you like to go to. So please, order the book, share it with your friends. It's written for the layman. It's not written for psychologists. It's a combination of personal stories from me, client case studies, people that I've worked with, and my professional observation over the years. And it's very readable, very digestible. And I hope it will open your eyes to some ways of seeing our human behavior and our human condition in ways that you may not have ever had access to. And that's really my hope, is there's nothing in my book that is designed to blame anyone. It's not about contributing to the divisiveness. And I think that's a hard thing for people. I think it's hard for most of us that if someone has done something that we consider horrific, not to just want to hate them and see bad things happen to them, but we have to know that inside our worst perpetrators are victims. And the other thing that we can talk about this at another time, or you can definitely read about this in detail in my book, is that the most symptomatic people among us are actually calling for help for the family of humankind in America. They're the symptom bearers for the ills that are not being addressed in our larger family systems. And I think this is really new thought for a lot of people. It's not new thought in the world of psychology, but it is new thought for a lot of people who don't have any exposure to the principles of psychology and healing on a psychological level.
Yeah.
So I'm on LinkedIn and I have lots of articles. I have articles on Substack. I'm on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And
so if people need to, if people want to reach out to you because they know somebody who might, require some, talking, or want to talk to you, consult you for, whatever reason.
Absolutely. And there's many places on my website where you can just contact me. Just fill in the information and you will reach me, and I would be very happy to connect with you. Anyone.
Cool. As a takeaway, is there anything that you would like to share before we wrap the show as a takeaway for our audience today?
What I want to share is with you. I so appreciate you. I so appreciate your deep dive in your own life and sharing your experience and being open to what we're talking about here and wanting to share it with other people, because I really feel like more people than not are desperate to restore us to a sense of our humanity and our connection with one another and loving and safe ways of being with one another. And many people just have had no exposure to how to do that. So I really want to thank you. I think that what the service you're offering is beautiful and so needed.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Honored.
Me too.
And I believe by the time this broadcast too, I'm working on a project. Right now it's really big, very big up here in the mind and the possibilities and stuff like that. But it's a huge global project that is called Podcasters for Change.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
It's about global injustice, advocating for, trying to bring the whole podcasting community together, because we are the voices. We're the voices that everybody listens to it every day if it's not mainstream media.
Right.
And advocating for, correcting the injustices in the world and for human rights.
100%. Beautiful.
And I plan to launch it before the end of the year, but by the time this broadcasts, I'm sure that it will be out there for many to see, especially the podcasters, but then the guests too and stuff, for those who, work, especially the work that you do. I mean, it's part of the field, man. It's part of the field.
Thank you so much. And, in any way that I could participate further, I'm here 100%. If you feel like it, just tell me a little bit, just what's the vision for Podcasters for Change?
So the vision is bringing. Let me bring up I'm still working on. Actually, like I said, when this broadcast, it'll be like. But as I'm building it and stuff like that, our mission statement. The mission is to empower podcasters to use their platform to drive positive social change.
I see. Right.
We believe in amplifying diverse voices and shedding a light on global injustice while advocating for human rights through engaging and thought-provoking content. We aim to inspire and educate our audience, fostering a more inclusive and equal world. Together, we strive to make a lasting impact by raising awareness and encouraging dialogue and promoting positive action.
Well, of that, I think it's timely, needed, perfect, and I think I'm riding the same wave as you. So I really, really appreciate that, and I really appreciate you having me here.
Thank you, and you're right. It starts with the individual.
Right.
We can't have a healthy global society if we have individuals that are not, I wouldn't say not right, but that are lost.
Right. Right. Yeah, and the danger is that so many of those lost people end up in positions of power.
Yeah, unfortunate.
But we have to know they're lost.
Yeah.
We have to know that. They're not evil. They're lost.
Yeah.
They're hurting.
True.
Yeah. Beautiful.
That's another show in and of itself.
That's another show. Oh.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Blessings, my friend. Thank you. Honored to have you back on the show. And let me know anytime. And I'll keep you posted on PFC, Podcasters for Change, and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Use you as maybe one of the sponsors, or not sponsors, but I'm still kind of wrapping my head around the development and the structure of it and stuff like that. So
great. Yeah, let's absolutely stay in touch. And if you want to email me your address, I would love to send you a copy of my book.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd really like to do that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for watching The Seance, and we will see you next week.